Thanksgiving 2024. My brother hasn't spoken to me in 3 weeks. My mother is crying in the kitchen. My father just said something that made half the table walk out. And I'm sitting there thinking, Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire where senators literally tried to assassinate him every other Tuesday, and he stayed calm. What did he know that we don't? Turns out it's one technique, and it has nothing to do with agreeing to disagree or keeping the peace. It's far more powerful than that. If you're over 40 in America right now, you've probably lost something since the election. Maybe it's a friendship that's been cold since November. Maybe it's a family group chat that went silent. Maybe it's the easy relationship you had with your sibling, your parent, your adult child, that now feels like walking on glass. And here's what nobody's talking about. You probably didn't even want to fight. You probably tried to stay quiet. You probably said, let's not talk about it. It didn't matter. The tension found you anyway, because this isn't really about politics anymore. It's about something deeper. It's about fear. It's about identity. It's about people you love looking at you like you're a stranger. Marcus Aurelius dealt with this exact thing. Different empire. Same human problem. And he developed a technique that saved his sanity, his relationships, and his ability to lead. I'm going to give it to you today. But I'm warning you, it requires you to do the one thing that feels impossible right now. Here's what most people are doing right now, and why it's making everything worse. Option 1. You're trying to convince them. You're sending articles. You're explaining your position more clearly. You're thinking, if they just understood the facts, they'd see I'm right. But every conversation ends in a fight. Every text gets misinterpreted. Every attempt to explain pushes them further away. Option 2. You're staying silent but seething. You're biting your tongue at dinner. You're avoiding topics. You're pretending everything's fine while you're mentally writing the argument you wish you could have. And the resentment is building like pressure in a pipe. Option 3. You cut them off. You've decided they're toxic. You've unfriended, unsubscribed, uninvited. You've told yourself you're protecting your peace. But late at night, you're lying awake missing them. Because they're not just someone with bad opinions. They're your brother, your dad, your best friend from college. All 3 options have one thing in common. They're trying to control something you cannot control. And Marcus Aurelius would tell you that's exactly why you're suffering. Let me tell you what happened to him, because it's worse than anything you're dealing with right now. Marcus Aurelius became emperor in 161 AD. He didn't want a job. He was a philosopher. He wanted to read books and think about virtue. But he inherited an empire that was falling apart, and he inherited a co-emperor named Lucius Verus who disagreed with him about almost everything. Lucius was corrupt. He threw massive parties while soldiers were dying. He took bribes. He ignored Marcus's advice. He made decisions that directly undermined everything Marcus was trying to build. And Marcus couldn't fire him. Roman law said they ruled together. He was stuck working with someone whose values were completely opposed to his own. And it wasn't just Lucius. The Senate was full of men who hated Marcus. They thought he was weak. They thought philosophy was for cowards. They actively worked against him. They spread rumors. They conspired. Some of them literally tried to kill him. His own wife, Faustina, was rumored to be having affairs with these same senators. The entire court was talking about it. Everyone expected Marcus to rage, to punish, to make an example of someone. And then there was his son, Commodus. Marcus spent years trying to teach him Stoic philosophy, trying to prepare him to be a good emperor. And Commodus rejected all of it. He became cruel. He became vain. He became everything Marcus feared. And Marcus knew, with absolute certainty, that when he died, Commodus would destroy the empire. So let me ask you, is your situation worse than that? Is the person you're not speaking to actively trying to overthrow your government? Are they spreading rumors about your spouse? Are they going to inherit everything you built and burn it down? Probably not. But it feels just as painful, doesn't it? Because it's your family, your relationship, your peace that's been destroyed. Here's what Marcus did, and it's not what you think. Marcus wrote in his journal, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." Most people read that and think it's victim blaming. Like he's saying, just don't be offended. That's not it at all. What he's saying is this: the other person's opinions are not the problem. Your need for them to have different opinions is the problem. Let me break this down into the actual technique, because it has 3 specific parts. When your brother says something you think is insane, your brain does something automatic. It goes, "My brother is insane. My brother is lost. My brother has been brainwashed. My brother is a bad person." You've collapsed the opinion and the person into one thing. And now you can't have a relationship with him, because the relationship requires you to accept that he's a bad person. Marcus would force himself to write, "Lucius has opinions I disagree with." Lucius is still a human being trying to do what he thinks is right. These are 2 separate facts. This sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Because right now, you want to believe that bad opinions make someone a bad person. It feels righteous. It feels like you're standing up for what's right. But Marcus would ask you, is your goal to be right, or is your goal to have a relationship? Because you can't have both. Not right now. Maybe not ever. And before you say, "But their opinions cause real harm." Yes. Maybe they do. Marcus's co-emperor's corruption caused real harm. Soldiers died because of Lucius's incompetence. And Marcus still separated the person from the actions. Not because it was easy, because it was the only way to stay sane. Write this down, because this is the key that unlocks everything. You cannot control what they believe, how they vote, what media they consume, whether they wake up or see the truth, whether they change, whether they apologize, whether they admit you were right. You can control whether you stay in a relationship with them, how you respond when they say things you disagree with, what boundaries you set, whether you argue or redirect, whether you let their opinions define your emotional state, whether you keep showing up with love even when it's hard. Right now, you're spending 100% of your energy trying to change what's in the can't control column, and 0% of your energy on what's in the can control column. Marcus wrote, "If it's not in your control, why are you worried about it? If it is in your control, why are you worried about it? Just act." Your brother's political opinions? Not in your control. Whether you send a kind text anyway. Completely in your control. Your father's Facebook posts? Not in your control. Whether you call him on his birthday and tell him you love him? Completely in your control. And here's the part that makes people angry when I say it. Your job is not to fix them. Your job is not to educate them. Your job is not to save democracy by winning an argument at Thanksgiving. Your job is to decide whether you want a relationship and then act accordingly. This is the technique that changes everything, but nobody does it because it sounds too hard. Marcus would deliberately practice being around people who disagreed with him. He'd invite senators who hated him to dinner. He'd sit with them. He'd listen to their terrible opinions. He'd train himself to stay calm in the presence of views he found abhorrent. Why? Because he knew that if he only surrounded himself with people who agreed with him, he'd become fragile. He'd lose the ability to exist in a diverse world. He'd become so sensitive to disagreement that any difference of opinion would feel like a threat. You need to practice this. And here's how. Once a week, deliberately expose yourself to the perspective you hate most. Not to argue, not to see where they're coming from in some fake come-by way, but to train your nervous system to stay regulated in the presence of difference. Read the article from the source you despise. Watch 5 minutes of the channel that makes your blood boil. Sit with the discomfort of knowing millions of people believe this, and you can't stop them. Not to change your mind, not to see both sides, but to prove to yourself that you can be in the presence of ideas you hate without losing your center. Because here's what's happening right now. You've trained yourself to be triggered. Every time you see your uncle's post, your heart rate spikes. Every time the topic comes up at dinner, you're ready for battle. Your body is in constant fight or flight around half your family. Marcus would say, you're giving them power over your nervous system. You're letting their words control your blood pressure. That's not strength. That's fragility. Strength is being able to sit across from your brother, hear him say something you think is crazy, and stay calm. Not because you agree, not because you're keeping the peace, but because you've trained yourself to separate his worth as a person from his political opinions. Now, let me tell you the part that nobody wants to hear. They might never change. Your dad might believe what he believes until the day he dies. Your sister might never come around. Your best friend might stay exactly where they are. And you have to decide, is a relationship worth it anyway? Marcus knew Commodus would be a terrible emperor. He knew it with absolute certainty. He spent years trying to change him, and Commodus didn't change. And Marcus still loved him, still prepared him the best he could, still left him the empire. Was that the right choice? Historians debated. Commodus was a disaster. Maybe Marcus should have done something different. But here's what's not up for debate. Marcus stayed sane. He didn't let his disappointment in his son destroy his own peace. He didn't spend his final years consumed with bitterness about what Commodus wouldn't become. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You can't argue your brother into having different values. You can't shame your father into watching different news. You can't logic your friend into seeing things your way. But you can decide what kind of person you want to be in relationship with them. You can decide whether you're going to be the person who kept trying, who kept showing up, who loved them even when they were wrong, or whether you're going to be the person who cut them off and felt righteous about it. And let me be clear, I'm not saying you have to have a relationship with everyone. If someone is abusive, if someone is unsafe, if someone is actively harming you, boundaries are good. Marcus had boundaries. He didn't let corrupt senators run wild. He didn't let Lucius make all the decisions. But most of what we're dealing with right now is an abuse. It's difference. It's disagreement. It's fear on both sides. It's people we love who are scared and angry and convinced they're right. And the Stoic method is not tolerate anything. The Stoic method is separate what you control for what you don't and put all your energy into what you control. You control whether you pick up the phone. You control whether you say, "I love you," even when you're angry. You control whether you stay curious instead of defensive. You control whether you model the behavior you wish they had. You don't control whether they change. You don't control whether they apologize. You don't control whether they ever see things your way. So here's what this looks like in real life. Let me give you a script because I know some of you are thinking, this is impossible. Your dad posts something on Facebook that makes you want to scream. Here's what you do. Step 1. Notice the feeling. Don't suppress it. Don't pretend you're not angry. Say to yourself, "I'm angry." That's real. That's valid. Step 2. Ask the Stoic question. Can I control what he posts? No. Can I control how I respond? Yes. Step 3. Decide what you want a relationship to be in 5 years. Do you want to be the person who fought with him on Facebook, or the person who called him once a week anyway? Step 4. Act according to the person you want to be. Maybe you don't engage with the post. Maybe you send a text. "Hey Dad, saw you posted about X. We disagree on that. But I was thinking about you today and wanted to say I love you. How's your back feeling?" You just separated the person from the opinion. You acknowledged the difference without making it the whole relationship. You put energy into what you control, staying connected, instead of what you don't control, his beliefs. Here's another one. Thanksgiving dinner. Someone says something that makes half the table tense up. Here's the Stoic move. Step 1. Don't take the bait. Someone wants a fight. You don't have to give it to them. Step 2. Redirect without dismissing. You know what, Uncle Joe, we see that really differently. And I bet we'd spend 3 hours arguing and both walk away more convinced we're right. Can I ask you about something else? Mom said you just got back from that trip. Tell me about that. You just did something radical. You acknowledged the difference. You didn't pretend it doesn't exist, but you didn't let it become the entire conversation. You controlled the one thing you can control, your response. Here's the hardest one. Someone you love cuts you off. They stop returning calls. They uninvite you from Christmas. They say they can't be around you anymore because of your beliefs. Here's what Marcus would do. Grieve it. Feel the loss. Write in your journal about how much it hurts. And then ask, what do I control? You can't control their decision. You can control whether you leave the door open. You can control whether you send a text every few months. I miss you. When you're ready, I'm here. You can control whether you stay bitter or whether you stay open. You can control whether this hardens you or makes you more compassionate. Marcus watched relationships fall apart. He watched people betray him. He watched his son reject everything he taught. And he wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Your family member cut you off because they think you're toxic? Don't prove them right by becoming bitter and closed. Stay open. Stay kind. Stay willing to reconcile. Not because they deserve it, because that's who you want to be. Here's what I really want you to understand. This moment in America feels unprecedented. It feels like families have never been this divided. But Marcus Aurelius lived through a plague that killed 5 million people. He lived through civil wars. He lived through political chaos that makes our elections look like a book club disagreement. And families survived. Friendships survived. Communities survived. Not because everyone agreed, but because some people decided that relationship was more important than being right. The Stoics had a phrase, amor fati. Love your fate. This is your family. This is your time. This is the challenge you've been given. You didn't choose it, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can spend the next 5 years angry that your brother voted wrong. Or you could spend the next 5 years being the kind of sibling who keeps calling anyway, who shows up at his kid's birthday, who remembers what matters. You could spend the holidays avoiding your parents because you can't stand their opinions. Or you can spend the holidays showing them that love is bigger than politics, that you can disagree about everything and still be family. And I know what you're thinking, but what they believe matters. It has consequences. It hurts people. Yes, you're right. It does. But so does destroying your family. So does carrying bitterness for years. So it does modeling for your kids that love is conditional on agreement. Those have consequences too. Marcus wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." Everyone around you is losing their minds. Everyone is cutting people off, burning bridges, and choosing ideology over relationships. You don't have to do that. You could be the sane one, the one who stayed steady, the one who remembered that people are more than their politics. On the day Marcus Aurelius died, his son Commodus was by his side, the son who would destroy everything Marcus built, the son who rejected his philosophy, the son who proved that everything Marcus feared was right. And Marcus's final words to him were, "Do not grieve for me. Grieve for yourself if you do not live well." He didn't spend his last breath trying to change Commodus. He didn't lecture. He didn't plead. He didn't say, "I told you so." He let go. He loved him anyway. And he died in peace. That's what I want for you. Not 5 years from now, when someone dies and you have regrets. Now, today, peace with the fact that you can't control other people. Peace with the fact that you can only control yourself. Peace with the fact that love and disagreement can coexist. Your family is waiting. Maybe not for you to agree, but for you to be the first one to put down the sword, to send the text, to make the call, to say, "I love you even though we see the world differently." Someone has to go first. The Stoics would say, "Let it be you." So here's what I want you to do right now. In the comments, tell me, who's the person you're not speaking to? You don't have to tell me why. You don't have to tell me who's right. Just tell me who you miss. Put their relationship to you, my brother, my dad, my oldest friend. And then, if you're brave enough, tell me, what's one thing you control that you could do this week to start repairing it? One text, one call, one small step. Write it down. Make it real. Because the Stoics believed that philosophy without action is just theory. And you don't need more theory. You need your family back. Subscribe if you want more Stoic tools for staying sane in an insane world. Hit like if you're ready to be the person who goes first. And share this with someone who's struggling with the same thing. Let's be the ones who remember what actually matters. I'll see you in the next one.